We cannot leave any remnants of Hamas, whatever it takes. That was General Zviv signaling what appears to be Israel's policy right now: eradicate Hamas at all costs. Israel has been engaged in this operation against Hamas, but the United Nations, the chief, Mr. Guterres, just said that a ceasefire in Gaza has become more urgent with every passing day, and that Gaza is a graveyard for children who've been killed. Thousands of them have been killed, it seems. What will it take for Israel to pause the fighting, to stop the bombing campaign?
It would take the kidnapped coming back home yesterday, 31 days ago. It would take them being home with us. It would take Hamas putting down their arms and disappearing from the Gaza Strip. This is what should happen. This is what needed to happen. This is what the world needed to get together to make happen on the first day, on the 8th of October. All the world powers should have demanded this. But if we have to act alone, as usual, we will act. And the eradication of Hamas is not a conjecture, it's going to happen. We are now inside Gaza. We didn't want to be there. We haven't been there since 2005. We unilaterally removed ourselves from Gaza so that they would have an opportunity to create a country, to create a future. They created chaos and destruction.
In hindsight, do you think that it was a mistake what you did in 2006 to pull out of the Gaza Strip and to give Hamas a free run of the territory?
Hindsight is 20/20 always. Hindsight is easy to say. We made mistakes many times in the past. Every logical democratic country observes itself and says, where have I gone wrong? What did I make that worked as a policy, and what did I do which failed? This was an utter failure, there's no question about it. Containing Hamas was a mistake. Containing Hamas should never been an active policy of Israel, but we were trying our best to minimize loss of life in Gaza. We were trying our best to make sure that we give an opportunity for rationals to come up. And instead of that, we woke up with ISIS on the morning of the 7th of October. And dramatic, horrible tragedy, which we haven't seen since 1945, since the Nazis. These are horrors that Jews only imagined until that day. And now a new generation of Jews has experienced themselves. And they now know that what we said will never happen again can happen again. Can happen again and again and again. And Hamas is saying it very clearly, by the way. I want to say something about your comment regarding Mr. Gutierrez. He has lost touch with reality. Talking about war crimes on the Israeli side, while within the Article 8 of the Rome Statute, Hamas has broken every single of those war crimes that are stated there. The abduction, the raping, the firing from civilian locations, which are guised as hospitals, as mosques, as children's clubs, UNRWA facilities, using the UN insignia and firing from within, going into ambulances to transport themselves. They are doing everything that is listed as a war crime on that. His comments should not have happened. His call for a ceasefire is premature. He should have called for the release of our kidnapped. He should have called for that without any terms, and then there would be a ceasefire tomorrow.
So the priority, number one priority for Israel right now is the return of the 200 hostages.
No question, that was priority from day one. Keeping our civilians safe is priority number two, and it's a big priority. We can't accept a situation where they have an arsenal of 50,000 rockets aimed at us at all times. I don't think this is, most people don't understand what that means, to live under a threat of rocket fire wherever you are in your country. Can you imagine India being covered from south to north by several different enemies at all times, and they can always fire on you, and they do fire on you on a regular basis on our south, and every once in a while when they feel like it, on the center of Israel? It's not an acceptable situation. Freeing our hostages, releasing them, and then the eradication of Hamas, making sure nobody will ever have that ability again.
What follows after Hamas? There's always this fear that, like after Al-Qaeda, you had ISIS, which was far, far worse. Is it possible that whatever comes after Hamas is unlikely to be like a PLO or a Fatah? It's going to be far worse than Hamas. Have you kind of factored that in when you're going into the Gaza Strip?
No, we've given countless interviews in the last month, and we usually shy away from this question, saying that first we'll free our hostages and make sure that Hamas is eradicated, and then we'll think about the future. I think we're already at the point where we're thinking about the future. And I'll be brave and try to venture a guess into this. The Marshall Plan that happened in Europe after 1945, although this is not the scope of destruction that has happened in Europe, okay? This is, even though people are comparing, this is not that size of a disaster as they are comparing to Europe. They should read their history better if they think it is. Nonetheless, a Marshall Plan, a sort of a Marshall Plan for this region is necessary. This comes under the authority of the United States to offer something like that, and they are. This is in back channels between Sunni countries, pragmatic Sunni countries within our region, and past the fighting, there will be an attempt to reimagine what Gaza should be, what Gaza could be. There are civilians there. I don't question that. I question the numbers put out by Hamas health ministry, so-called health ministry. Their numbers, and I've done this for a while now, their numbers are always wrong.
Right.
Their numbers are always 25 to 30% less eventually, and the ratio between women and men is always, wrong completely from what they said to what reality was. The amount of combatants is always much larger than what they claim. And if we're realistic, Hamas has about 30 to 35,000 soldiers. If those soldiers want to give up, put their arms down and walk out of Gaza Strip, which hasn't happened yet, they're welcome to try and do that. But as long as they're fighting us, there will be more dead from within those soldiers. They are fair targets.
Right. In fact, our colleague Aditya Raj spoke with Colonel Conricus, who's the spokesperson of the IDF as they're operating inside Gaza. Let's listen in.
It's been exactly a month ever since the horrific terror attack in southern Israel, which killed more than 1,500 innocent people. And in fact, we have been seeing and witnessing Israel responding to the Hamas terror attacks and continuously using airstrikes and also the ground invasion or the ground attacks that are continuing against the hideouts. What's the plan of action for Israel from here, both diplomatically and militarily? Joining us is Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Conricus, who is the international spokesperson currently of the IDF. Thank you very much, Jonathan, for joining us. I want to begin by asking you, it's exactly a month, as an Israeli, yourself, what's going through your mind right now? We'll discuss the optics of it. We'll discuss the, militarily, what's happening there. But as a Jew, as an Israeli citizen, on the first month completion of this horrific terror attack, your first words.
Yes, hello, Aditya, and thank you for having me on your show. 30 days has special significance in Jewish religion and heritage, because after 30 days, when someone has been buried for 30 days, there's a special memorial service, and usually we go and uncover the grave, and usually we put a tombstone after 30 days. So it's it's of significance not only because it's a month, but also there's the additional layer of tradition here in religion. Listen, on a personal human level, I think that we are in a situation where the country is reeling with pain, with anguish, with fear, where people today, there are 250,000 Israelis that are internally displaced persons. I know that in Indian comparison, those numbers are very, very small, but in Israel, that's a big percentage of the people. And we have dozens of communities in southern Israel and in northern Israel that have been evacuated due to the threat of terrorists, Hamas in the south and Hezbollah from Lebanon in the north. And there's tremendous strain on the entire system here. But most importantly, it's the sense that many Israelis feel afraid. They feel that the system didn't work and that they were let down and that the IDF failed. And I want to start with that. Yes, the IDF did not deliver, and it's a terrible, terrible thing for me to try to represent an organization that I am extremely proud to be a part of, but we didn't deliver, and Israelis were killed because of that. And it's a very difficult starting point for any military. And I don't wish the Indian military or any other friendly military to have to start fighting from such a low point where so many civilians were butchered and more than 240 were taken hostage and are now still being held inside Gaza. So it's difficult times, but I am encouraged and happy to see the resolve of Israeli troops, regular and reserves. I am strengthened to see the coming together of different parts of Israeli society, rallying around the mission, rallying around what everybody understands that needs to be done. Civil society coming together, bridging differences and petty political nonsense that consumed discourse in Israel for many years, for many months, sorry. They are now set aside, hopefully for entirety, and people are focusing on the positive and what needs to be done, because we have tremendous challenges on the ground. Hamas is a formidable enemy. They have had the better part of 20 years to prepare the underground infrastructure and to allocate weapons and to conduct training, and basically to focus all of their energy, most of their energy, instead of producing a future for the people of Gaza, they have been preparing in order to end our future. And there's just so many people that haven't been listening to what they've been saying. Now I think we're listening. Now is time for action.
News9 Plus. Download now.